Today, we're going to crack open a really powerful toolkit for navigating, well, the chaos of life. And believe it or not, it was written by one of the most fascinating figures in all of history. So let's dive right in. You know that feeling like you're just wrestling with constant stress, a million distractions, and all these things that are completely outside of your control? It feels like such a modern problem, right? Just a product of our crazy, fast-paced world. Well, what if I told you that one of the most practical guides for dealing with these exact feelings wasn't written in some modern self-help book, but in the private journal of a Roman emperor almost 2,000 years ago? Yeah, see, this isn't some big, formal, philosophical text that was meant for everybody. The Meditations are the personal notes of Marcus Aurelius. It's basically him talking to himself, reminding himself how to live a good life even when things are falling apart. Think of it like his personal operating system for his own mind. And because it was a private diary, it's just so raw and direct and incredibly practical. This isn't about some abstract theory. It's all about how to actually apply these ideas to your own life. You can totally hear his personal reflective tone right here. He's not lecturing anyone, he's just talking to himself. And when he says burgher, he really just means a citizen. He's grappling with these huge ideas, basically saying, hey, the point isn't how long you live, it's how you live as a citizen of the world. So who was this man, writing these really profound notes to himself? To really get his philosophy, you have to understand the absolutely immense pressure he was under. You know, it's so easy to just picture him as one of those marble busts you see in a museum, but the reality is, Marcus Aurelius was a man facing crises that would break most people. His philosophy wasn't born in some quiet, peaceful library. It was literally forged in the fires of real-world chaos. I mean, just look at the scale of his challenges. He was ruling this massive empire. He was almost constantly at war on the frontiers, and he had to lead his people through a devastating plague that killed millions. And on top of all that, he even faced betrayal from one of his most trusted generals. And get this, when the revolt was crushed, Marcus ordered all the related documents destroyed to prevent any more bloodshed. He chose forgiveness over revenge. Incredible. But we have to talk about a pretty stark contradiction in his reign. This wise philosopher also oversaw a cruel persecution of the early Christians. So what's going on there? Well, the sources suggest this was really more of a political conflict than a religious one. See, for Stoics, outwardly conforming to the state religion was fine. You could just see the Roman gods as symbols. But for the early Christians, any form of idolatry, especially worshiping the emperor, was a huge no-go. And that refusal was seen as an act of rebellion against the Roman state itself, where religion and government were all tangled up. So it was from this intense crucible of pressure and war and political strife that Marcus developed his practical philosophy. He wasn't just thinking deep thoughts, he was building a toolkit for mental resilience. Okay, so the first tool in the kit is objective judgment. The crucial idea here is that it's not events themselves that make us suffer, it's our judgments about them. The goal is to strip away all the emotional stories we add on top and just see the bare facts of what's happening. And this quote just illustrates the idea so brilliantly. Getting angry about the inevitable stuff in life, like dealing with difficult people or having setbacks, is as ridiculous as getting mad at a carpenter for making sawdust. I mean, sawdust is just a natural result of doing the work. You don't have to like it, but getting upset about it is a complete waste of energy. The second tool is all about a deep, deep acceptance of impermanence. Everything changes. It just does. Empires rise and fall. People are born and die. Fortunes are made and lost. The Stoics believed that fighting this natural flow of the universe is where all our anxiety comes from. Oh, I love this metaphor. He says to think of the substance of the universe like a piece of wax. It's constantly being molded into new forms. One minute it's a horse, then it gets melted down and becomes a tree, then a person. They're all just temporary shapes. So trying to cling to any one form is just fighting nature itself. Understanding this helps us let go of the things we can't possibly keep. Okay, so if everything outside of us is chaotic and temporary, where on earth do we find any stability? Well, Marcus gives us the answer. We have to build an inner citadel. This right here, this is the foundation for that fortress. He's basically arguing that the only real good or evil is found in the things we can actually control, our own choices, our own judgments, our own responses. Everything else, your health, your wealth, your reputation, is ultimately outside of your complete control, so Stoics called those things indifferent. If you can focus only on your own actions, your own virtue, you literally become immune to complaining. And this is your unconquerable fortress. No matter what happens in the outside world, a plague, a war, a betrayal, no one can force you to think or respond or choose in a way you don't consent to. That power is yours and yours alone. Now, this personal philosophy of inner strength wasn't just some clever coping mechanism, it was actually rooted in this really grand vision of a rational, ordered cosmos. Yeah, the Stoics had this very specific materialist view of the universe. They believed everything came from a kind of divine fire or ether, and then developed into the elements we know in this orderly, rational process. For them, the universe wasn't just random chaos. It was like a single living organism governed by reason. And that's why they could accept fate. It was all part of a logical, even if we can't fully understand it, plan. And this is why the Meditations have really stood the test of time. The 19th century philosopher Ernest Renan called it the absolute religion. It's not tied to any specific doctrine or country. It is, simply, the timeless practice of a moral person trying their best to live rationally and virtuously in the world as it actually is. So that leaves us with a final thought, a challenge pulled directly from the Emperor's toolkit. Take a look at your own life, at the things that are causing you stress right now. What is one thing, just one, that is completely outside of your control, that you can choose to see with objective judgment and just accept?